I think the people of New York State will and deserve to pick their governor and their elected officials because they're going to have to live with the consequences of those decisions.
And as Paterson's poll numbers have plunged, his list of allies has grown thin. This weekend, Congressman Charlie Rangel said he was still on the governor's corner, but with Rangel being investigated for multiple counts of tax evasion and having just earned the title of most corrupt congressman from the group Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, kind of reminds you of that old phrase, with friends like this, who needs enemies? For some analysis on the situation with the governor, we're joined on the phone now by New York political consultant Brad Gerstman. Brad, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
Question one, will Paterson bow to the pressure and step aside, or does he just keep going full steam ahead?
I think he's going to, at some point, step aside, but obviously he wasn't going to just do that moments after the president reached out to him and said, hey, do us a favor and don't run. He has to save face. I also think he's going to try to get a little leverage with the president and try to get some kind of political appointed position in the president's administration, because Paterson needs to be in politics. That's what he's made up of. That's his DNA, and he's just not going to walk clean away from politics.
If Paterson remains stubbornly in the race and doesn't want to yield on this, does the president's involvement give cover to Democrats who then would have a rationale to abandon Paterson and support Cuomo instead? And does this get Cuomo to run regardless of what Paterson does?
You know what? That's the question I've gotten. I must have no less than 20 telephone calls and conversations about that with various clients and with other elected officials around the state discussing this issue. And the answer is unequivocally yes. This definitely gives the green light to Cuomo, to Suozzi, to others, potentially the Democratic side that want to go out and primary the governor. I mean, he's really been rendered very, very weak under these circumstances. Now, as far as my opinion on whether or not the governor should run or what he should do is my opinion is politics should be a decision by the people, and that if the governor wants to run, he should run and let the primary clean it up. But a political answer to that question, I don't want to jump ahead of you or ahead of myself, but a political answer is that New York State is in a very tenuous situation in 2010. The president knows that, and I know there are a lot of different reasons that were just cited as far as what the possibility for why the president's stepping in here. But in reality, if you look at it, it's straight politics. The president doesn't want the state house to go in any other direction but Democrat, and with top of the ticket being Giuliani on the Republican side, potentially, that would put the Democrats in severe danger.
But Brad, New York is a very blue state, far more Democrats here than Republicans, and this isn't the first time that President Obama has gotten involved in state politics. You look at his efforts to clear the way for Kirsten Gillibrand. Is the White House that concerned that Republicans will carry the day in New York State? Why is that the reason they seem to be so obsessed with politics here as opposed to other state politics?
I think he's trying to strengthen the Democratic brand. I think he's trying to do that, and also one way of doing that is clearing up all the primaries that Democrats typically run against each other. Democrats are notorious for running primaries against each other and not listening to party bosses. You've heard the old saying is, I don't belong to an organized political party, I'm a Democrat. I mean, it speaks for itself. The Democrats are free agents a lot of times.
But doesn't the primary process, Brad, strengthen the party because it gets the more popular Democrat on the ballot come November of next year? So if there's a primary battle either for the governor's side or in the Senate race, don't you wind up with a better candidate running in the fall as a result of that primary?
Oh, definitely. But on the other hand, they run out of money, and politics is money. And you need the money, and right now Cuomo's got $10 million in the bank, and clearly he's got that momentum that Spitzer had a few years back, and that's going to potentially create a landslide in favor of the Democrats, and that would be strong top of the ticket for the rest of the elected officials, the rest of the people campaigning for elected positions.
There's no question, Brad, that Obama's involvement and talk about Paterson, clearly a no-confidence vote for the governor. Shouldn't we interpret his involvement to try to clear the road for Gillibrand as also something of a no or less than confident vote from the president?
In that situation, I don't see it that way. I see it very clear as you have someone who was appointed to the position in Gillibrand who did not face an election for that position, and the president wants to see a clear path for her, and again, doesn't want to have that infighting and the damage. There's a tremendous amount of damage done in primaries, and again, it's spending a lot of the state's resources, a lot of the party leaders' resources, and And Republicans don't have as much of that, and maybe Obama is looking at it that way. I don't think it's too much more than any of those that situation in either circumstance. However, I must say I am very surprised that Obama would jump into state politics this closely and twice now in New York.
And especially considering how closely he has backed John Corzine, and also a vulnerable governor in New Jersey. New York political consultant Brad Gerstman. Brad, thanks for the analysis. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, you've heard from Brad. Now we want to know what you at home think. Should Governor Paterson take the president's apparent advice and step aside, or should he go full steam ahead into his 2010 election bid? And should the White House be meddling in New York's political affairs in the first place? 888-RNN-CHAT is the number to call. Phone lines are open right now. You can also join us online at RNNTV. Your phone calls, your emails, and much more right after this.